Hi, my name is Tilda and we'll be doing a Vinyasa flow class today. So we're just going to begin by sitting cross-legged on our mat or any comfortable seat right now. I just want you to close your eyes and start the practice by taking a few deep breaths, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose. On your next inhale, try and pause and then exhale. Keep going in your own time, just really focus on your breath. Whilst we're here, breathing, hopefully with our eyes closed, now is a really good time to set an intention for our practice. So the theme of today's class is befriending our bodies. So try and think of an intention that fits with that. For you, that could be moving your body more. It could be resting more. It could be talking more kindly to yourself. It could be being grateful for everything that your body does for you. So just consider that intention, how you can befriend your body. And just keep taking some deep breaths through your nose right now. Inhale and exhale. We're going to begin our practice in a moment. So gently open your eyes and let's start. So we're starting in a cross-legged position. With an inhale, we're going to raise our arms to the sky. And with an exhale, we're coming into a forward fold. So gently fold forward. It doesn't matter how far you go as we're starting to warm up for this practice. Inhale and lengthen your spine. Exhale, fall deeper into the fold. We're here for a few breaths. In a moment, we're going to use our hands to walk our torso back up. From here, we're going to come into a seated cat-cow variation. So with an inhale, you're going to pull your chest forward, squeeze your shoulder blades, and you can either keep your neck neutral or gently tip it back. And on an exhale, you are going to round your back and tuck your chin. With an inhale, chest forward, squeeze shoulder blades. Exhale, round back, tuck chin. Keep going in your own time. Go at whatever speed feels good for you. One more here. And then come back up to neutral. We're going to come into a seated twist. So with an inhale, raise your hands to the sky. And with an exhale, bring your right hand to your left knee, your left hand behind you, and gently twist. With every inhale, find length in your spine. And with every exhale, twist a little bit further. We're still at the start of our practice, so don't twist too deeply. Don't push your body beyond what feels comfortable. And in a moment, we're going to come back to neutral in the middle. With an inhale, we're going to raise our arms. And with an exhale, we're going to bring our left hand to our right knee and our right hand behind us and gently twist in the other direction. Inhale to lengthen your spine. Exhale to twist. In a moment, we're going to come back to the middle, hands on knees. From here, we're going to come into a cactus arm stretch. So inhale, hands to the sky. Exhale, bring your arms out like cactuses or goalposts. And then squeeze your shoulder blades together, pull your chest forward, And feel a nice stretch in your chest and your shoulders. Keep breathing, keep squeezing. And then bring your hands back to your knees. From here, we are going to stay in a seated position, but bring our legs out long in front of us. We're going to start by grabbing hold of our right leg, hands behind our thigh, and we're just going to do some ankle flexes here. So just flex and point your ankle, just warming up those ankles. And in a moment, we're going to swap legs. Grab hold of our left leg, hands behind the thighs, and just flex and point your ankle. Do it in your own time. Bring your leg down. And now we're moving on to meet in a tabletop position. So, tabletop position, palms on the mat. Palms, wrists and shoulders should be stacked, knees and hips in a line. So if at any point in this practice you do feel like you want to rest, then you can return to this position, tabletop, or you can come into a wide-legged child's pose. Knees as wide as your mat, toes touching, hips sinking back, and hands crawl forward. So those are your two postures should you want to rest at any point during this practice. So we're in a tabletop position. From here, we're just going to do some hip circles. So we're going to begin by raising our left leg and then bring it to the side, almost like you're a dog who's going to pee on a fire hydrant, and just circle. We're going to do 5 here. We're going to pause, and if you can, we're going to circle in the opposite direction. And then bring your leg to rest. From here, I'm just going to switch sides so that you can see the posture better, but stay in your tabletop. From here in your tabletop, we are going to stick our left leg out wide, and then we're just going to gently sink our hips back. Only go as far as feels comfortable, and you should feel a nice stretch on the inside of your left leg. Remember to keep breathing. And in a moment, we're going to keep our legs wide, but bring our torso up and hands out into a T. From here, we're going to come into a gate pose. So bring your left hand to your thigh or your shin and sweep your right hand up to the sky. Gaze towards your right hand if possible, and you should feel a nice stretch in your right side body. From here, we're going to come into a stargazer variation. So now, arms back in a T, bring your right hand to the mat, left hand to the sky, and you may want to pivot your feet to point to the back of your mat. In this pose, picture pushing your hips forward a bit. And then in a moment, we're going to come up, back into our wide-legged pose. And we're going to meet back into a tabletop position. From here, we're going to do the hip circles on our right leg. So raise your right leg up, twist it to the side, again, like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant, and then just do some big hip circles with that right leg. one more here. And then, if you can, we're going to go in the opposite direction. It's okay if this one feels a bit less natural for you. From here, we're going to repeat that sequence on our right side. Bring your right leg out wide. Sink your hips back a little bit. Feel a nice stretch along the inside of the right leg. In a moment, we're going to use our hands to bring our torso up, keeping our legs where they are. Arms out into a T, and we're going to come into a gate pose on the right side. Bring your hand to your thigh or your shin and sweep your left hand to the sky. Feel a nice stretch in your left side body. In a moment, we're going to come into a stargazer pose, hands out to a T. Bring your left hand to the mat. You may want to pivot your toes a bit and sweep your right hand to the sky. It helps to picture pushing your hips forward a bit in this pose and gaze up. In a moment, bring your torso back up and meet me back in a tabletop position. I'm just going to move now I'm done demonstrating that. So we are going to come into our sun salutation sequence. There's a few variations. If you're a beginner, you are most welcome to drop your knees at any time. I'll be demonstrating the full sun salutation, but your option is always there to drop your knees, and I will try and demonstrate some adjustments as well. So from our tabletop position, we are going to tuck our toes, and we're going to come into a downward facing dog position. If you're a beginner or you have tight hamstrings, you can bend your knees to keep your back straight. Otherwise, try and bring your feet to the mat and your palms flat on the mat too. We're just here for a moment. From here, we're going to come into a high plank position, or you're most welcome to drop your knees. In a high plank, we're coming to a chaturanga, or make your way down to the mat in whatever way feels comfortable. From the chaturanga, you can either come into a cobra, palms by your shoulders, push in slightly, raise your chest, or you can come into a full upward dog, whatever is most comfortable for your practice. From here, we're going to tuck our toes, come back into a downward dog position, and then we're either going to jump or step our feet forward between our hands, lift up halfway, straighten our back, palms maybe on the mat or on your shins. Exhale and fold, and then circle sweep your arms to the sky, and come into our standing position, Samastiti. We're going to repeat that one more time. Circle sweep hands to the sky, and this time we're going to fold forward. Lift halfway, hands to the mat or your shins. Plant your palms and step or jump back into a high plank position. Knees up or down, chaturanga. Come into a cobra or an upward facing dog. Tuck your toes and come into a downward dog position. From here, you can step or walk back to the front of your mat. Forward fold, halfway lift, and then circle sweep your arms to the sky and meet me back in a standing position, Samastiti. From here, we're going to come into our standing sequence. So, where you are, standing at the top of your mat, we are going to come into a chair pose. It's important to imagine that you're tucking in your tailbone and slightly pushing your hips forward. And from here, you want to sink your hips back, bend your knees, and then you can either sweep your arms to the sky or have them at your chest or just out in front of you, whatever's most comfortable. And you want to sink down whilst keeping your tailbone tucked so that you're not overarching your lower back. We're just here for a few breaths. In a moment, come out of your chair pose, hands to the side, Samastiti. From here, we're going to go into Warrior Two on the left side. So, wide stance. Turn your left foot out so that your toes are pointing to the end of your mat. Keep your right toes pointing to the sides of your mat. You want your hips to be facing the edge of your mat, and then bend into your left leg. Bring your arms out into a T. You can either gaze forward or gaze over your left fingertips. Keep bending into that left knee. Engage your core. Tuck your hips. In a moment, we're going to come into a side angle pose. So left forearm on left knee. Sweep your right hand up and then bring it slightly over. You want to feel a nice stretch in that right side body, and you'll also be engaging your core here. In a moment, we're going to come out of this to a peaceful warrior. So keeping your legs as they are, bring your hands out back to a T. Flip your palms to the sky, and then bring your right hand to your thigh or your shin, and stretch in the opposite direction, peaceful warrior, gaze at your left hand. And come out. We're going to come back into a star pose. Pivot your left toes to face the edge of your mat, wide-legged. Push your hips slightly forward, engage your core, your glutes, and raise your hands to the sky for a star pose. From here, we're going to come and repeat this on our right side. Pivot the right toes out. Bend into your right leg. Engage your core, hips forward, hands out in a T, and sink into that Warrior Two on your right side. In a moment, we're going to come into our side angle pose. So bring your right forearm to your right leg, sweep your left hand up, and then stretch over to the side. Moving into our peaceful warrior, keep your legs as they are. Bring your hands up back to a T. Flip the palms to the sky. Bring your left hand to your thigh or shin and sweep the right hand up. And we're going to come out of this. Come back into our star pose. So pivot the right toes so they're facing the edge of your mat. Engage your core, engage your glutes. Bring your hands to the sky, palms together to touch. And in a moment, we're going to come into a revolved lunge. So pivot your body to face one side and bring a knee down. Have a leading leg bent. There's two variations of this revolved lunge. If you're new to yoga, then simply bring the opposite hand to the mat and the same hand as the bent leg, sweep it to the sky and twist towards your bent leg. If you feel comfortable, the other option is palms to your heart, twist your body and link your tricep to your thigh and twist. Whatever option you take, just enjoy this twist here. Keep breathing. In a moment, we're going to come out, unwind. With your hands to support you, swap your leading leg, bend into the other leg. And from here, either take the starting variation, palm to the mat, twist the arm to the sky and twist towards the bent leg, or hands in a prayer and bring your tricep to your thigh and twist using your tricep and thigh. In a moment, we're going to unwind. We're going to bring our palms to the mat, coming back into a tabletop position. From here, we're going to do a thread the needle shoulder stretch. So sweep your left arm to the sky and then thread it underneath your body and your arm and bring your shoulder and your ear to the mat. We're here for a few breaths. In a moment, we're going to come out of the stretch by unthreading our arm, bringing it back to the sky, and then placing it on the mat. We're going to do the same on the other side. Sweep your right arm to the sky, and then thread it underneath your body, shoulder on the mat, ear to the mat. Just enjoy this stretch. In a minute, we're going to come out, unthread your arm, bring it to the sky, and bring it back down to the mat. We are going to tuck our toes, come into a downward dog. From here, we are just going to walk our feet forward, and we're going to come into a ragdoll fold. So it's a forward fold, but you can bend your knees as much as you want to release that lower back, and grab hold of the opposite elbows, or rest your hands on your legs, and just completely relax. Let gravity pull you down. Don't stretch, don't force anything. Just flop here like a ragdoll. And in a moment, we're going to slowly roll up our spine, one vertebrae at a time, rolling our shoulders back, bringing our head up last, coming back into our standing posture, Samastiti. Now we're going to come into some balancing postures. So standing at the top of your mat, we're going to come into a tree pose. So before we do this, just play about with distributing the weight between your feet. See if you can get an even distribution with your weight. Engage your core, lengthen your spine, and in a moment we're going to take our right leg and we're going to put our right foot on our thigh. You can have it high, low, you can keep hold of the right foot for balance, and you will bring your hands to your heart. If you're holding your foot, just bring one hand. If you feel comfortable, push the foot and thigh together and release your hands to a prayer at your heart. Balance on your left foot, gaze ahead, engage your core, and just breathe. In a moment, we're going to come out of the balance, release your right leg, and then cross your right leg behind your left. From here, lengthen your spine, and we're going to come into a forward fold. So just fold forward, bending from the hips. And wherever your limit is, you can bring your hands to your shins for support, or you can come down to the mat. Fold forward over these crossed legs. And take a breath here. In a moment, we're going to slowly roll up, neck last, uncross our legs, find our center of balance again, and we're going to repeat that on our left side. So we're going to take our left foot and place it on our right thigh. It doesn't matter how high or low you place it. It doesn't matter if you want to keep hold of it and have one hand at your heart, or bring both hands to your heart. Gaze ahead, push the foot and thigh together, find your balance. We're here for a few breaths. In a moment, we're going to come out of the balance, bring your leg out, cross your left leg over your right, and we're going to come into a cross forward fold on that side. Inhale to extend your spine, exhale to fold forward, bending from your hips. Your palms might be on your shins or they might be touching the floor. And just breathe here and fold forward over these crossed legs. In a moment, we're going to slowly roll out of the posture, roll your shoulders back, neck last, and then come back into a Samasthiti standing pose. From here, we're going to do a little bit of core work. Take it as you can. If you don't feel like pushing yourself today, that's absolutely fine. We're going to begin by coming down onto our knees and getting into a plank position. Spread your palms, stack your wrists, arms and shoulders, tuck your toes, engage your core, engage your legs. Don't let your hips drop like this. Bring them up, using your core, using your glutes. We're just here for 3 more breaths. So inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Final breath. Drop your knees. Meet me in a wide-legged child's pose. So knees as wide as your mat, toes together to touch. Sink your hips back and walk your hands forward. Enjoy this rest. In a moment, we're going to crawl up and we're going to come into some side planks. So come back into a tabletop position. Now you can either return to our stargazer pose from the start of the class, hand on the mat, knee bent, leg out, and arm raised. So it's like a side plank, but your knee is down. This is our stargazer pose. Or you can come into a full side plank where you stack your legs, bring the weight into your wrist, and push your hips up. We're here for 1 more breath. In a moment, we're going to come out of our side plank back to tabletop. Again, we're going to do side plank on the other side. Your option is to return to the stargazer pose we did at the beginning of the class, or join me in a full side plank. Stack your feet, weight in your wrist, arm up, and push your hips to the sky. Final breath here, and return to tabletop position. From here, we're going to come back into our wide-legged child's pose. Rest here for a few breaths. Continue in your child's pose. And in a moment, we are going to use our hands to bring our torso up, but our legs stay in our wide-legged child's pose position. From here, we're going to roll our shoulders back. We're going to place our palms behind us, about a palm print away from our feet. And we're going to do a baby camel pose. So this is a very mild back bend. It's a variation of a camel. So with your palms pushing on the floor, your legs in a wide position, inhale and push your hips forward. And if this feels comfortable, you can drop your neck and keep pushing your hips forward. If not, you can keep your neck neutral, but continue to push your hips forward, pushing your palms down on the mat. And in a moment, we're going to slowly drop our hips. I'm going to come back into a wide-legged child's pose. Stay in your child's pose, but in a moment, we are going to come onto our backs. So when you're ready, come down onto the mat, back on the mat, feet on the mat about hip width apart. We are going to do 3 rounds of bridge pose. So walk your heels slightly closer to your butt. Relax your shoulders onto the mat. And then on an inhale, we're going to come into our first bridge pose. So push down on your feet, raise your hips to the sky. Breathe in this posture, hold your core, hold your glutes, push down for your feet. Keep engaging all of your muscles. One more breath here. And then slowly release by rolling down your spine, 1 vertebrae at a time, hips last. Rest here for just a second. We're going to come into our second round of bridge pose. So push through your feet, engage your glutes, engage your core. Push down through your heels. You should feel your glutes, your core really, really engaged. One more breath here. And then slowly roll down, vertebrae by vertebrae, hips last. Rest for a second. And we're going to come into our final round of bridge pose. So inhale, and then push through your feet, engage your glutes, engage your abs, squeeze those abs, squeeze those glutes. This move is great for strengthening your lower back, it's great for strengthening your glutes, it's really helpful for reducing back pain. And now I've distracted you, we're coming out, slowly roll down and release. Bring your knees to your chest and hug them in like a ball. Give it a good squeeze. And then we're going to come into our happy baby position. So bring your legs wider than your rib cage, and you can either hold on to your shins, hold on to your big toes, or hold on to the outside edge of your feet, whatever's most comfortable. Remember, if you don't feel like you've got a lot of mobility, just hold on to your legs, that's okay. In this posture, it releases our lower back. So once you've got a hold, just let gravity pull you down, keeping your legs wider than your rib cage. You can even give it a little squeeze with your arms to flatten your back. Feel a nice stretch in your hips as well. We're here for 4 more breaths. Inhale, and then when you exhale, release down further into the mat. Really relax. In a moment, we're going to bring our knees back together and hug them into a ball again. And then we're going to come into a figure 4 stretch. So bring your feet back to the mat. Take your right leg and cross your right ankle over your left knee. And then interlace your hands through your leg and pull your legs towards you. You should feel a nice stretch in that right leg, that right hip. In a moment, release, and we're going to swap legs. Bring your left ankle over your right knee. Interlace your hands for your legs and pull your legs towards you to really stretch into that left leg and that left hip. In a moment, release the stretch. Squeeze your legs in one more time. You may want to rock side to side, give your spine a little massage. And then, keeping your legs where they are, release your arms into a T. And then we're going to do a twist. So drop your legs to the left, but gaze towards the right. This is a supination twist. Just breathe into it, relax your whole body. Your legs are going one way and your gaze is going in the opposite direction. In a moment, come back into the center and then drop your legs to the right side, gaze towards the left. With every exhale, feel yourself sinking deeper into the twist, letting go of any tension that you're still holding. In a moment, we're going to come back to center, give our legs one last squeeze, and then we're going to release to Shavasana. This is our closing posture, legs out straight, hips wide, everything flat to the mat, almost like you're about to take a nap. Take some time in this Shavasana, just lay here, breathe, and reflect on the intention that we set at the start of the class. How are you going to befriend your body? What positive feelings have you gotten in this class that you can take with you for the rest of the week? Stay in your Shavasana for as long as you want. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you enjoyed this practice, and I hope you take something positive from this for the rest of your day and the rest of your week.